Good evening. It's the Tuesday, March 11th, 7 o'clock. We are in the Finance Committee room. We definitely have a quorum. Al Cafferty may be running late. Ralph Mitchell will not be joining us tonight, but the rest of the committee is here. And so I'll quickly go over the agenda. We don't have any minutes to vote. The reserve fund still stands at $35,000. Public forum, there is no one here from the public.
Yes, there is.
Well, are you here to speak as a public person? I thought you were here as the budget manager, Don. And then under new business, we have the town clerk who will present her budget. Then the superintendent of schools and a handful of people, I'm sure, will be here to present the Whitman-Hanson Regional School District budget. Then we have the Finance Committee annual report to submit, and thank you to everyone who's made the suggestions. And I've received, even as late as 5 o'clock tonight, some new suggestions, so I will vote what's here. And if I make anything significant, I won't. I will not make any significant changes. I'll just change wording if that's what the suggestions are. Under old business, we have the subcommittee reports, Capital Committee, Whitman-Hanson Regional Agreement Committee, Middle School Building Committee. I'll report on those three, and then Mike Andrews has agreed to report on the Public Works Department. And then we have communications, and the last thing I want to talk about, and we'll come back to this later, is planning for future meetings. I would really like to start at 6 o'clock next week. We're meeting with the select board the following week at 6 o'clock, and then April 1st we begin to deliberate Article 2, and I'd like to start at 6 o'clock then as well. So if anyone has any problems with that time, let me know. Otherwise, I'll submit revised agendas in a timely fashion. Okay? So, since Dawn is here, do you expect anyone else to join you, Dawn?
Michael's coming.
Okay. Do you want us to wait for Michael to get here?
Yeah, I can tell him to get his fanning right up there.
It's okay.
He should be up there.
Well, we'll wait for Michael. You want to go
I'll give
to...
you my handout.
Yeah, you can give us your handouts.
Is Michael on his way up? Tell him to get up here. I'm not that rude to him, just so you know.
What's that?
I said I'm not generally that rude to him. But that's Michael. Michael's always a day late in the golf course.
Well, he's a busy guy, right?
Yeah, not with town clerk stuff.
This is a
That's
packet
great.
from...
Yeah.
Okay.
How's everybody? Good?
Good.
Oh, yeah.
That's all.
And once you've passed out the packets, Dawn, I think I'll have us all introduce ourselves to you. You can introduce yourself to us.
Yeah.
We have 4 new members of the committee this year.
I didn't know if anybody was going to be in there behind me, so.
I will. If anybody needs a copy. So does everyone have a copy of the packet that Dawn just distributed?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. So I suppose I can start, because the first few things is pretty simple if you guys want, or
Yeah, Michael's here.
Michael's here.
You can start now.
You were talking about you, don't worry.
That's okay.
Well, I was mean to you. I was like, tell him to get up there. I said, I'm not usually that mean to him. All right. Hi, I'm Dawn. I'm the town clerk. I've been in the office since 2001. 2 years before that, I started in the selectman's office. Before that, I worked at the Navy base in Weymouth. So that's a little bit about me. And I've been I was the assistant town clerk in 2007. I've been the town clerk in 2012. So I've got a lot of years of experience in the office. And yeah. So there you go. That's me in a nutshell. And that's Michael. He's my assistant. I don't even know when you started. When did you start?
As an election, I got involved in elections in '86,
Yeah.
and so I've been doing elections since then. And then I moved into the
When you come in my office?
Yeah.
When?
A couple of years ago, right?
2014.
Oh, that one, yeah.
So 10
Became
years.
assistant
Oh
town
my God,
clerk.
that's right, yeah. It was, yeah.
So he's going to be your next town clerk, so you better be nice to him.
Okay, so we'll go around the library for that, right?
I'm on the library board. Yes.
And historical.
I'm Kathleen Otina. I'm the chair. I've known Dawn for as many years as I've been on the FinCom, which is 5 years. So it's good to meet you and good to have you again tonight, Michael.
Thanks.
Chuck Colby, nice to see you guys again.
Yep.
Mike Andrews?
So listen, I hate to be rude, but I have an ear infection, so I did not hear anything you said.
I'm Mike Andrews.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah,
Jason Hunter.
yeah,
Mike Flanagan.
hi,
Ann Zuniga.
yeah,
Mike Warner
yes.
and Elizabeth.
Okay, so
Yes.
now we all know each other. Okay, Dawn, so I'll let you.
All right, so I've given you guys little packets, obviously, as you go and you open them up. The first budget that I said to Michael, I said, I realize here that I manage 3 budgets, and of course, town meeting is one line, town meeting and elections, but that's probably one of the most extensive running, especially after last year, running presidential elections and things like that. It's probably one of the most difficult. I have to orchestrate at least 40 people in one day, ins and outs and multiple times, and sometimes they can't. Yeah, vote by mail. They can't. My poll workers sometimes cancel on me in that morning, and you can't. So it's not like I can say, well, we'll just go short-handed. You can't. State law. I have to have so many check-ins. There's certain positions that I have to fill and stuff like that. So I always say that it's like running a wedding. That's what I have to do. I have to run a wedding, seating arrangements. I can't have D's and R's together. I can't have. I have to have. It sounds crazy, but trust me, it is not as easy as you think. So anyway, so I do all of that, and with town meeting and elections. This year's budget obviously went down, so you're probably like, oh, why are you even talking about it? But I just want to let you know that we only have one election and one town meeting this cycle that I know of. And so on average, and this has increased extensively because of just the cost of things. So it's $15,000, almost 16. I have it. You can see on the first page under town meeting elections. I kind of have it broken down. The salaries for town meetings. I don't pay for the warrant or any of that stuff. I only pay for the salaries for the town meeting workers. So that's basic. That's this is an average salary for that day. And then we have the town elections, the programming. We have to pay for programming. We have to pay for the ballots and the salaries and things like that. When we have our annual election, we pay for everything. When it's a state election, they buy the ballots. We still have to pay the programming, but costs fluctuate a little bit. But their ballots, they're a lot more. So you have to have 3 ballots for every voter. They've actually decreased that law. Before, we were getting cases and cases of ballots because you have to have. So when I ordered my ballots, I had to order. I mean, you probably know.
I know.
But they've
Yeah, I know.
decreased that. They've changed that. But now we're printing envelopes, and it's crazy what we have to do for early voting and by mail and in person. And anyway, so these in a nutshell, this is what it is. Maintenance, that's for our poll pads and our voting machines. Every year we get them maintained. And then in the expense line, this is just an average year. I kind of took a year of, and trust me, we don't like overexpend or anything like that. We're not living off the dream. So it's about $16,000 for, and so that's why I put in $16,000 for town meeting and elections. Any questions?
Quick question. When you say programming, is that?
We have to program. We have the auto mark
The
machine, the
machine,
handicap
yeah,
machine,
the-
the little program cards, all the little
Yeah,
flash cards that go in them.
That's what I thought because I am familiar. Yeah.
And we have to pay for words. So if we do if we have a ballot question on a ballot, we have to pay for printing per word, and we have to pay for programming per word.
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
can get expensive.
Yeah. We use the AccuCast or OccuCast?
ImageCast, they're the new ones.
Yeah,
They're the old AccuVotes, but they're called ImageCast. Yeah.
Any other questions?
So 16,000 is what you're predicting for next year?
Yeah, based on-
one town election.
One town election and one town meeting.
Okay. The other years, clearly a lot more than that.
Yeah,
But
so
that's also
because
multiple
we're
elections.
fiscal year, so it depends. Like, so we don't have a state election, so we won't. It'll be. We don't have anything in 2025, so there's no state election because we're every 2 years. We're not. The cities have elections on the odd years, but we don't have state elections on. And then obviously every 4 years we have a presidential, so that sometimes we end up having 4 elections in a year. It's because of the fiscal year.
Who covers like informational like sessions? Like where were we talking about having like
Oh, coming up,
Yeah.
I think what Mike is alluding to is talking about doing some informational sessions for possible override here in the town hall in April, maybe something like that, but that wouldn't have anything to do with you guys,
Probably
correct?
in the select board's budget would be.
Yeah. So what they'll do if they're going to have an override, it'll be on the town ballot.
Yeah.
That's what they'll do. They'll vote. So they have this, you know, I mean, if you saw my calendars, you have to be super organized to be in my office. So they have 35 days before an election to give me a question. So I send them letters and memos saying, you know, and you guys, I usually
But none
do
of these
too.
costs don't go to that.
No, because
So you're-
it's bumped onto the.
You know for sure, like,
Yeah,
what you have coming
yeah. So
up.
only the thing like the district election that we had with the VOTEC, that was, but they ended up absorbing the cost for that anyways.
If an office holder dies and they have to have a special election.
Yeah,
that might-
usually they usually don't do that, but like if a select board did, sometimes they won't want to run a select board with 4 members, so they would have a special election. The state law, once, I think it was Baker, when Charlie Baker was in, no, when Ted Kennedy died,
Yeah, that's what's happening.
so the state also had the same rule, but when Ted Kennedy died, they didn't like who was going to take his spot. This is politics, right?
Right,
It's
yeah,
truth.
yeah.
So they made a new law so that when a state a candidate dies, you have to have a special election. So that could happen tomorrow, right?
Right.
I mean, I don't know that, and you have to have a before
That
you didn't
cost
have to.
includes that possibility.
What's that?
That cost includes that
No,
possibility.
No.
Yeah.
No, they,
You can't. You
All right.
can't. You know, I'll be coming back to you.
Well,
Hello. Yeah, that's something we would have to, you know, deal with at that time. But I hope that doesn't happen. But
right. Yeah. Of course.
yeah.
Yeah. It's.
Okay, any other questions on budget number 1? We'll go on to budget number 9.
Now, the interesting budget, right? So I'll be honest with you, this is pretty much the stuff that I handed out last year. I didn't do, as far as the numbers that I have, because these were extensive. Listen, I didn't get a raise last year, and I'm not complaining. I'm not a union person, and I'm not a contractual person. I'm an elected person. So when I negotiate my salary, I negotiate it with you guys. You know, and I brought here some things for you guys to look at. What do I do with them? They're here. I'll leave them here for you. So that explains, right here. And I'm not throwing this in your face and stuff like that, but this is where I come from. As finance committee members, I mean, a lot of people say, because I had this discussion with somebody and they said that I need to be more, what's the word I want, Michael, with the Board of Selectmen, because that's how you're going to get your raise. But that's not what the law says. The law says that you guys determine, you're the finance committee, you're the ones who, you know, who cares what the Board of Selectmen says? I'm sorry, they can listen to this all they want, but that's the facts. You guys are, you're the financial people. It's in the laws. It's in the state laws, it's in the town laws, it's in the town meeting. I mean, you can go to MMA and get the finance committee books to tell you guys what you know, don't let them tell you. There you go. It's right there in black and white. The state law says that you guys set my salary. That's what you're here for. I mean, you guys work hours, tireless hours on this budget. It's what you guys say. So I have to convince you guys that I deserve a raise. And that's the biggest thing with town clerk salary. So, you know, I kind of told you my history. And I think it was you last year when I said, you know, the accountant makes more than me. They have like 1 year experience, and they have a consultant to help that person, and they're making more money than me. The assessor makes more money than me. The treasurer collector, they're more money than me, and they have a consultant to tell them how to do their job. I know how to do my job. I've been doing my job for a long time. And when I brought this up, and I'm not throwing it in your face,
No.
what was said to me was, in order to get good health, you need to pay them more. So my comeback to that is, in order to keep good health, you're going to have to pay me more. Because what's going to end up happening, and this is not a threat, this is a fact, I'm going to go down to 2 days a week. You're going to pay me part-time, you're going to get part-time. And these are the facts. You can look around at all towns around us. So my job has changed in so many ways. We have early voting. We have early voting in person, by mail. We have, I'm the records access officer. I'm not sure if you know what that is. So I have to make sure that people are, I actually got written up because of a different department because they did not adhere to the laws. There's, like I said, I am the clock of the town. So when somebody submits something, that something has to happen within so many days, depending upon what it is. And I have to make sure those people do that. You know, it's a lot of pressure. And so that's another thing. Ethics, conflict of interest. I'm chasing people around. It's just so many different things. Elections alone has totally transformed my position. I can go to jail. I'm the only official that can go to jail for their actions. I do birth certificates, death certificates, marriage certificates. I mean, these are, people would kill to have a birth certificate from this country. I have to be an honest, upheld citizen in person to make sure that the laws are being adhered to. So, I always said to people, there's other departments that can say, oh, we do this or we do that. You better give us what you want. You guys got to vote for the President of the United States of America because of my office. Think about that, right? How important is that? That's just as important as the trash guy. I always say that, you can think of what you want about the trash guys, but stop picking up your trash for a few weeks. That's not fun, is it? So we all have, me included, have a significant role. And I just think that I've been overlooked for so many years. And I don't think it's fair. And I know you're talking override and stuff like that. My little bit of money is nothing. And I know you can find it because you find what you want to find. And that's how I feel. So I've shown you real quick here, just so you have an idea of, if you look at the other towns by population. So you take like Rainham. Rainham has like 20 people more than me. And she's making in the 90,000s. And if you look at like, the bigger one, the bigger packet with the 243 towns that, this is from a few years ago, all the town clerks participate. That kind of shows you. If you look at, I think it's Uxbridge and Rainham are on either side of me as far as I highlighted it, so it's easy for you guys to go right to it. And it tells you how many years of service the person has, if they're certified, things like that. If they hold, how many years they've been in the service. I'm 72,000. Uxbridge is $92,000. That's a lot of money, you guys, think about it, okay? And then the one, Rainham, she's only got 21 people more than me. She's $98,000 with no certifications. And I'm just saying that, I just think you gotta, at some point in time, we gotta get my salary up to.
What's the state average,
Definitely not 70-something thousand, I can tell you right now. And then people will say hours. Well, you only work 31 hours. What are their hours? My position doesn't matter. Hours don't matter. I've come in on Christmas. I've come in on weekends. I do stuff from home. Yeah.
Can I ask how your salary was negotiated to begin with?
So it's through. So being here a long time, I can tell you how. All department heads made the same amount of money back in the day. Every single department head made the same amount of money, and then things started breaking off. And that's the assessor. I'm not going to speculate how I think it happened, but that's what happened. All department heads made the same amount of money, and then things just started breaking off and making more money.
Well, I think at one point, and I can't come up with the name of the report, it's not the Madden report, there was a consultant hired to take a look at and come up with salary categories, and there was a ABC.
Collins.
There
Yeah.
were two Collins reports, and one of them had to do with the salaries, and that's when salary categories were identified and established, and salary.
And I'm actually with the assessor who makes $88,000, so I'm in the same category as that person.
So that's how the salaries were initially
So you're in the
readjusted.
same position as the 88,000.
As the assessor's position. I think that's what she makes, 89,000, something like that. And then she'd have a 2% raise this year, and I'm not even sure what her exact, salary is, so. But,
So
those are
I know the
similar.
answer to this question, but I believe a lot of new folks. So in 24, it was 88,000, but in 25, it dropped to 78.
yeah. So,
Can you tell everybody what happened?
I
now?
can. So what happened was, the town had a thing where you could do 5, 5, and 5. It was contractual, but the town has, even though I'm not contractual, they've always included,
What,
the retirement. So, because
Lexington plan for
Yeah.
town officials who were planning to retire within the next 3 years, they were given a 5% increase above whatever other increase they negotiated.
retire.
and if you stayed after that, the 20 years, which I did, you give back that 15%, the 5, 5, and 5.
You go
So-
back to your base.
Yeah.
Right, because you
So-
go out within those 3 years.
Because I didn't leave. So I'm not the only town official that is actually still working that happened to, just so you know,
So you got paid more money for those amount of
for
time.
3 years.
For 3 years.
Yeah,
years.
yeah,
Which would be 22, 23, 24.
yeah.
Then it basically backs you to what your
Right.
salary was
Does that
prior
money
to
go
those
to
3 years.
pension or annuity?
Yeah, the idea was,
It was to bump up your pension and things like that.
Yeah.
But then that stopped anyway, so then it was kind of like, yeah. So the reason I took it, you're probably like, why did she take it if she wasn't leaving? So the reason I took it was we were actually being told that it was going to be taken away from us. So there was somebody ahead of me that was in it, so it was better if I took it then because if they were already given it to somebody else and then I took it, they couldn't really say no to me, and then somebody was going to take it after me. It was kind of like one of those things. There was 3 of us who were non-union, non-contractual, that were left entitled to, not entitled to, because we're not entitled to anything, but left.
The opportunity for
Other people, the union people got 7 and 7, but the managers got a 5, 5, and 5, and pretty much if there's managers still here, they got it.
Yeah, so as we started, as some of that started to come out and things were looked at a little, with a little bit more magnification on some of these benefits that had been in there a long time and what they were doing to the budget, there was discussion on how would they move away from this plan, and part of it was getting it out of negotiation
Right,
contracts.
brought you back,
and some of it was, some of it was just by what was talked about, with the town hall employees. So I think when that started to come to light, people started to take advantage of the opportunity when they had it.
Right.
And
I didn't do anything that anybody
no,
else.
yeah, she's not the only one.
Yeah.
There were
I'm probably the last one, thank God.
well, no, maybe not.
Oh, okay.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
Town meeting did act on it right after that.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
But
So what was the benefit of it? Like, what if you
So
stay
at
long-
one
there was
point
no
in time,
benefit.
There was no-
I don't know if there's a benefit to the town.
No,
Not to the town.
theoretically it would be to the town, right? So if it assisted the person to take maybe a little earlier retirement, but
and you
certainly
got
get
3
there.
hires.
Right, but I'm saying if
right?
everybody stays
Right.
past that and then everybody retires at the same
Then there's
time.
no benefit. And the whole idea was you would take it and then you would retire, because then you would hire the replacement at a replacement
at that
cost.
similar cost.
So, if you look at, if you got somebody at $100,000, you're not going to pay the replacement at that experienced $100,000. You
Right.
might pay 80, 70, whatever
Right,
it
it
was.
leaves the door open to accept it. Right.
It revolves your staff, but also revolves your pay cycles.
And how it benefited me was Plymouth County at the time, no longer though, they paid you your top 3 highest when you retired, it was the top 3 highest
years, yeah.
highest years.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you
Just like
retired.
Social Security does.
Right.
Basic thing.
But they don't do that anymore anyway, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
So I also did, I didn't finish this. I looked at so you can look at Uxbridge and you look at Rainham. But look at towns touching us. Hanson, the brand new, because Beth's not running. She's going to be making like $83,000. That's a brand new person with no experience, no certification. Rockland, she's $95,000. East Bridgewater, she's only got 2 years experience. She's $83,000. I'm just saying, like, I'm not unrealistic. I'm not like salary gorging or anything like that. I think I'm being pretty fair.
Yeah, I mean, clearly, the
Yeah.
neighboring towns and towns of size, clearly we are on the lower end.
Yeah. And then if you look, another thing, if you looked at 10-year salary overview, if you look at that, this is strictly all Whitman. That's kind of like helpful for other departments as well. So it kind of gives you an idea of where the town clerk falls and who's getting what for salaries, and then the percentage of increase. So the health inspector, it jumped 118% over the 10 years. And that's because he went from, like, say, part-time to full-time. There are reasons for all of this. But it kind of gives you an idea of, the executive assistant to the Board of Selectmen went up 71% to $73,000, and which is equivalent to what I'm making. I'm just saying, kind of putting that out there.
And if I may, because we were discussing earlier, some of this after COVID, when it was getting hard to find good people, or there were people that were leaving in town, some of the town employees, and in order to try to hire, like in the private sector everywhere, people were able to kind of not name their number, but you had to pay more, right after COVID.
Yeah.
And being an elected official, so like I'm not entitled to anything. If you look on like I can't collect unemployment. Technically, I'm not entitled to retirement or any of that stuff because it's I'm an elected official. I'm different. And when I say that to you, when I stress to you about me coming to you guys, so when a town meeting, we act on what you guys recommend. So that's when I say, not that I don't care about the Board of Selectmen, I do care about the Board of Selectmen. However, it's what you guys recommend. So you're the people that, in my opinion, have to back me. You backed the assessor when that was on a special town meeting to give her that position an increase, and you supported the Board of Assessors probably came to you and kind of said, this is what we want, and the finance committee supported that increase. So I'm just asking you to support my increase. So that's my salary. So that's that. Anybody, I'm not going to go on anymore. You know how I feel. So. And I also said, if I'm not going to be there 2 days a week, I may have to close my office to the public. And I'm not threatening you. Please don't take it that way. But somebody's going to have to do my job, and that's going to be him. And something's got to give. We can't keep taking on more and more and more in my office and not. And if I'm not going to be there, then I'm not going to be there.
So the office right now is open 2 days a week. And
No, 4 days a week. Monday, same office hours.
And
But
Saturdays, right, for weddings and
I do Saturdays, Sundays, Christmas, Fridays. It depends on
yeah.
what's needed. Elections. Sometimes we work Fridays. Sometimes we have to be open for voter registration on Saturdays.
Yeah, early voting.
Early voting, yeah.
In-person
We're
voting,
required. We're required by state law. We can't say, we're not going to.
Right.
They say you have to be open. You have to do one Saturday, or you have to pick one weekend. You have no choice.
Right,
So,
yeah.
And that's non-compensated time, or is that comp
Non-compensated,
time?
not compensated.
So it's
Not for me. They get compensated.
Right. But for you, if you work a Saturday, you don't get the Monday off or something
No.
like that.
Unless I choose to. I'm elected, so
Yes.
I have to do. My hours are what is required to do the job. If it's 90 hours a week, it's 90 hours a week. If it's 9, it's 9. It's never 9, but I'm just
Thing with
saying.
elected officials, you know what I mean?
Good. That's
So,
and
they
yeah, it's the nature of the
know it,
beast.
yeah.
I love what I do. I mean, it's just you have to. So, anyways, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, so that's the salary of the
Yep.
town clerk.
And then the assistant clerk and the clerical, that shows the 2.5%. I got an email from Mary Beth Carter, and those were the numbers that they gave me to plug in, so that's not. And then as far as the expense line, my expense line has been the same forever, but obviously they know everything's increased, so I'm just asking for $1,000 increase.
And the only thing I have question here, Don, is that the town clerk salaries of 196,217. I think that you've captured, or whoever generated this captured cells that are, because I get
Yeah, because I didn't,
184.
I just used the Excel spreadsheet that was given to me, so I didn't even.
Somebody captured something that shouldn't be
Okay.
there because it's not 196, it's 185, 184.
Yeah,
And since this is not,
I don't know what's in there. I didn't make the Excel spreadsheet.
Everything instead of just
Yeah.
the salaries.
Yeah.
What was this?
Included everything instead of just the salaries.
Yeah.
it should be 184,923.
There you go. I'll fix that when I go downstairs.
Yeah.
And then the expenses are 7,500.
Oh, because it's combining the town records restoration.
Yeah. The clerical's about a 5% increase, though.
My,
41 to 43.
it's probably a step increase as well, I would say.
Okay.
Okay, I do have that paperwork in here. I could look for it
Yep.
if you want.
No, that explains.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, any other questions on budget number 9?
Okay.
Okay, and the last one,
It's the Board of Registrars.
budget 10, the board of registrars. Yep.
Yeah. So that's just the 2.5% on the salary increase there. And then the census supplies, I included that in your packet. So what you have in your last thing is, I'm just showing, and I know Chuck can attest to this. This is not anything that John Campbell passed away. Do you guys know who John Campbell was?
What to do with the historical commission?
Yeah, and he owned Harding Print, who gave us very good prices. Okay, and not that his son is not following suit, but John was John. Anyway, so this shows you. So the Board of Registrars, the census supplies. I asked for $1,000 increase. I actually overspent this year, not by choice, but because of the cost of. So this is us sending out the street listing that we send out every year at the beginning of the year. It's required by state law that we do that. We mail out approximately 6,500. The first mailing, approximately 2,000. The second mailing, and then we have inactives, and sometimes if the census comes back vacant, we send a new one to the. So I order about 10,000 envelopes, forms. There's an inside envelope, an outside envelope. So these are the down the bottom are the items that I have to order to supply that. Up top are what we currently have on hand. So you can see basically this is what I'm going to have to order down the bottom for FY 2020, for calendar year 2026 in January, and that comes to $2,835.50, and that's as if the prices do not go up. From these prices are based on last year's, or this current year, so I don't know if the prices are going to change. So that's why I increased it by $1,000 instead of $2,000 to $3,000.
All right. And do you know of any of these that they're looking at moving off of paper? It's been 30 years,
Nope.
so it's time
They,
for us.
I don't think they will, because you need a wet signature. That's one of the biggest things with the census. We can't.
Well,
a
the
lot-
census, yes. Yeah,
well, that's what this is.
Oh, all right. I thought that you had the
The annual
other
street
one.
listings, yeah.
Yeah,
So I do
the
persons
persons
listed
listed
books.
books, yeah.
So I basically that 1745. I actually used some of that, and that's decreased. It was 2,000, so I've decreased it.
Yeah.
So what that does is that takes the it not only prints the books. I mean, we're lucky if we get 100 books now, but there are still people who want that.
72, I think we got something.
72, yeah.
So it's not mostly printing, it's putting the book together.
Right. So
Okay.
we have to use customized data, and we give him the electronic version, and he
Manipulates it.
yeah, and then he sends the information. We do get it electronically, and those who, I mean, we used to give out persons listed books, so every fire engine, every police car had one. Now it's all done electronic. We give them electronic files, but there are people who still want their persons listed book departments. So a lot of this is for so not a lot of it, probably maybe a third of it are departments that come and say, "Can I get my persons listed book?" And it's easy for them to just scan through it if they're looking
Sure.
at somebody
Yeah,
or
yeah.
whatever. So that's the $1,745. So that includes the data process, and about 70 books, and I bet it'll probably be about 50 books this year.
Okay.
Minimal
Thank you. Yeah,
amount.
that helps explain. Yeah.
And some years we sell out, but we've been selling out because we don't have any left. Because
Do we charge for that?
yes, we charge $15.
15. Okay.
Yep.
They make-
And we have to be super careful with that because of the public records law. You can't put the cost on a consumer for a public record. So you can technically only charge 5 cents a page. So if somebody really wants to come after us, we can't say, well, it costs us this much to bind it and stuff like that. So realistically, we have to be super careful.
Right.
Okay. So I think $15 is probably too much.
So that almost wipes out the cost of the book itself then.
Are you doing the math? I don't
Yeah.
even know what it is.
Yeah.
There you
Yeah.
go.
We don't sell enough of them, no. It's
No,
primarily-
most of them.
No, it's a little over 1,000 in on a 1,700 bill. So it's about 50%, right? But
Yeah.
from a financial perspective, I'm not seeing the income listed here
It goes to the
either.
general fund, right?
Yeah,
Right.
it goes in the general fund, yeah.
Yeah.
So all my stuff, my office, if you look at the town report, there's miscellaneous fees, there's dog fees. If you look, we do take in, a significant amount of money. 20, 30, probably 30,000 in.
A lot on dogs. With
Yeah,
the
it was the late
Yeah.
fees, because I increased that
Yeah,
year.
We take 10,000 on the late fees, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that money goes in the general fund, but the dog tags, we have to buy the dog tags, we have to buy all that stuff, and that's out of my expense line, and that's become increasing. I mean, so and if we license more dogs, which we have been, it's more money for more tags. I mean, I know it sounds
Yeah,
stupid.
So you buy them out of your expense line, and
Yeah.
then
But it goes
Town
into a
people pay for them, and then the money goes to the
The
general
general fund, yeah. All my stuff, birth certificates, you have records restoration, all that.
Yeah.
All
All that, any fees, anything charged.
Yeah.
Just think, I mean, for what we do,
Marriages.
right?
Yeah.
We're looking at justification and are we spending in the right places? I would love to see those numbers. I'd love to see that and just say, okay, is it,
How much of
we
it?
have certain, there's things we have to do by law, but then there's also some programs we do that we charge for that we,
Yeah, if you look at my fees, we do marriage certificates, business certificates, discontinuance of businesses. Those are like the most popular. But certified long forms, births, deaths, marriages, we charge $5.
Yep.
That's just what we charge. Most towns are higher, but
Yeah, is there any way you can capture all that, like
it's in the
grand
town
total?
report. If you pull a town report, it's in every town
It'd be
report
in-
every year, and it's not fiscal year; it's calendar year. So
Calendar
it'll
year.
tell you. And the grand totals down the bottom.
Okay, thanks.
One of the most lucrative ones is postage and handling.
Oh,
They've been charging postage and handling since before I came in the office, but it's $1.50 per document if you do it online. And it's just money that the town
Yeah.
It'd be amazing now that people do everything online, how much we generate. in
Yeah,
that
at $1.50
Yeah.
every
If you want
transaction.
3 birth certificates,
It's $1.50 3 times, yeah.
It's like eBay. They're not selling you stuff, they're selling you packaging and materials, right?
Your stuff too.
Yeah,
Your
yes.
birth certificate. That drove me nuts. I was buying my birth certificate. I've done it a few times.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too.
Like,
You need
no,
that-
go
you need the
ratty.
seal.
I have to pass it in so many times, and you can't. A lot of times they don't want you yes,
It has to have a seal.
Yeah.
no, to be covered in plastic, or
Oh, yeah.
they weren't tape.
What do we charge for marriage
Don't do that
licenses?
to the
I'm sorry, yeah.
What do we charge for marriage license? Like if somebody's looking for one,
$30.
$30?
Yeah, for marriage. And that's the average.
Yeah.
That's about the
Yeah,
average.
I know someone that got married here this week. They paid $100. I thought for the.
That's for the JP service, which is different.
Oh,
Okay,
service.
so it's 30 and 100.
The intention, yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
get married here. And then opening it on a Saturday. You're
No,
your Saturday.
no fees.
Yeah, no.
It's like, you make the town hall, it's my choice.
Yeah.
I'm the JP, I can say no. And most marriages I do, it's in my office. Who was it, the people down,
Kurt, Elsa?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Alyssa,
yeah,
yeah. Yeah, that was a nice wedding.
My wife shot the wedding.
Oh, okay.
Photos, yeah.
Oh,
it
okay.
was only minor vandalism.
Yeah,
correct?
yeah.
Yeah.
They didn't invite friends.
Well, they had like 10 people or something like that. So,
Yeah, both sides. But
Yeah.
yeah.
But, yeah.
So why are some elected and some appointed in towns?
What, positions?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the only 2 paying elected positions are mine and currently the treasurer collector. They're trying to make that appointed, but so
But some towns do.
so, yeah, oh yeah,
some
right.
appointed.
Usually bigger cities do appointed.
Mm-hmm.
I would never want to be appointed.
I think we've had that on the
Well, it depends on the
town
skill
meeting. a
set,
couple
because
of
if you
times.
make it an elected position, the person has to live in the town.
Right.
But if you're looking for someone who has a particular skill set,
Yeah, you open it up to.
if you
Yeah.
appoint it, you can have.
Well,
someone who
the people who are appointed do the same thing as elected, so they're not better at their job. So they don't do anything different than I do. I don't know how to describe it. So an appointed person is, how would you describe it?
I know the difference between appointed and elected. Is that
So I choose to make 70-something thousand. So
Yeah.
don't give me what I want. I choose that, and I do the same thing as Easton, I think she's appointed, and she makes probably $108,000. I'm just saying.
so you want to be like?
I would rather be elected. I would rather serve my town and.
You answer to the people more than.
Yeah, so I don't have to, if the Board of Selectmen comes in and says, Dawn, I want you to give him his birth certificate for free. I'll be like, hell no, I'm not giving nobody nothing for free. And that's how I am.
Yeah.
Some people have a problem with that. They wouldn't hire, this Board of Selectmen would not hire me. And that's on the record.
Yeah.
They would not hire me. But I do a damn good job, and I
Yeah.
make sure that this town is
Get
protected.
married and yeah.
Yeah, I'm a jack of all
The
trades.
elections.
I'm here with a ruptured eardrum. I am so sick, and yeah.
It's a separation of powers thing.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
and it
conflict
could-
of interest. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
So I answer to 14,000 or 11,000 voters, and I would rather any day.
Constituents of what you were.
Keeps you honest. It keeps you. Not that other town clerks aren't honest, because I think it's the nature of the beast. But and then I'm certified. So I'm certified. That is in itself is huge. When the town clerks, I had to take a test, 150 question test. It was, it was an open book test. So you're like, oh, it's an open book, but that involves knowing where to look for things.
Yeah, it teaches you how to go through the book to find the answers to the questions you need.
Yeah, and there are things like in 1932, you had to put, as crazy as it is, you had to put race on a death certificate. And if it said Negro, you have to put that. And you have to put, sex. This is a big, huge topic right now. On birth certificates back in the day, it said male, female, other, because they went, it's a boy, it's a girl. We're not sure what you are. But at some point in time in history, that changed, and they did blood. They're like, it didn't matter what this was anymore. It mattered they drew blood. No matter what you had down there,
Yeah,
if
we're
your
back to
blood.
that.
Right. So things change, but I have to know that, and my office has to know that, and we can't put that on a birth certificate if we have to hand type it. We have adoptions. We have so many things that are private that we can't disclose, and Yeah. Yeah, it's a stupid thing. Veterans, we collect that data on the census form if you're a veteran, and we have to notate it in our voter registration files. And if the veteran agent wants a copy of that, we can't give it to them. It's not public record. When you start doing the federal census, we're signing all kinds of documentation that we can't give out. Like the federal government can use our data, but we can't use their data when they do the federal census every 10 years.
And that's why the federal census tends to be higher than the local one.
Because they go door to door too. It's a little bit different, but I mean the things that my office is required to make sure that we, it's just as I said,
It's an important position.
we all play we're all part of this puzzle, So, anyways,
Yeah, no.
and then I just want to let you know real quick. I don't know, and then because this is about my budget and stuff. I had a safe assessment done. I can't share this with you because it's about. Do you know about the safe assessments?
We talked about it a little bit
Okay,
before.
so I had it was a state police come in. It was the team. They come in and they look at this town hall to see what's safe, what's not safe in the event of an active shooter, in the event of many different things during elections. And as you know, every year since 2016, I'm like, oh boy, I'll never see an election like that, and it just keeps getting different. So there are a lot of things in our building that are not safe, not just for my office, but a lot of offices. And they did a lot of recommendations. It's cybersecurity infrastructure. The state agency came in. So anyways, I'd like to implement some of those things in the future. So I just kind of wanted to put it out there that I had that done. And, at some point, and I know when the town's financially better off, I would like to. But I don't want you to say, oh, she never told us about that. But I did have a safe assessment done it was highly recommended.
Part of your 5-year plan.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, and so I for that, I think that's something probably would have to go to the select board, right?
yeah. A lot of it had to do with like locks and
Yeah, I would assume.
Kicking windows in.
Access and
Vulnerabilities, yeah.
vulnerabilities.
yeah. I have a friend who does some of those, so
Yeah.
I'm familiar with them.
Concealed
But
carry.
that's where
Cameras.
you are kind of a little stuck with what you can share out of that report, but I
That's
think
right.
you'd have to give
Oh, I would.
an
Oh,
idea
I would.
as to what needs to be done.
And who I would share it
And-
with is who.
Well, but the cost. I mean, that's the piece. And could it be done? Does it all have to be done? Is there a matter of
And there are
prioritizing?
grants.
some
There are
of those
grants,
things?
and Josh knows about those because there are also safe assessments with the network and things like
Yeah,
that. There's
so-
other things, not just voting and things like that. So, yeah, it's a crazy world we live in. Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
So, any questions about the registrars or the census or?
Good. Okay, well, thanks, Don.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
All right. Thank you, guys. And
you.
do you want to leave these here? These are extra copies for your other members.
Yes.
Sure.
Good.
Did you get all the censuses back?
I couldn't hear you.
Did you get all the census back?
No, the first mailing, we mail out 2,000, the second mailing, so then we mail it out again, and then we wait for those, we do so much time, and then we start calling. Hey,
Or just a call?
Yay.
Yeah. I realized my mail isn't getting an alternate route. Do we have an alternate route? So every 2 weeks is someone picks it up for overtime. And we weren't getting
you postal?
and right across the street, the postal, yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that they were going somewhere else. Like,
Yeah.
for 2
then by law, we have to activate that person as a voter, so then when they
Right,
come
yeah,
in.
because I got the second notice. And I was like, I don't recall getting a first notice.
Yeah.
So,
People come in, they're so mad at us, and I'm like, listen, we don't, if we get something back, we have, we keep everything, so paper copy.
We send the mail. We don't deliver it. Right.
You what?
It said you send the mail. You don't
right,
deliver it.
right.
Yeah.
Well, that was just.
And then this year, we try to always
I
save
got
money and not mail some to town officials, and we're not going to do that anymore because some people were mad at us. But
Thinking so, feeling like they would get.
because other people were seeing their information, whatever. I don't even know why they wanted it private. So I'm just going to just mail out everybody.
Bigger.
They didn't want other people because we put it in town hall mailboxes, and I understand.
No,
you have
yeah.
children on it and stuff like that, and private information, dates of birth.
This is probably going to get worse.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank
thank
you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
It's good to have you.
Thanks.
You guys are done quick.
Is the superintendent out there waiting?
And he's ready.
Okay.
That stuff is going to get tougher. You've got California Privacy Protection Act. Europe has a GDPR. Everybody. private information down,
Yeah.
protecting it. So Massachusetts is working on some legislation.
Go ahead, you can do that.
Kathleen, you look great driving the ship. You're doing a great job.
Thank you. I did a fabulous job while I was working remotely, but it's good to be back.
Do we have enough budget books for you guys?
Yes,
Good.
sir. Before we get started, we'll do a round of introduction because
Awesome.
there's 4 new members to this committee this year. So you know me, but I'll just introduce myself. I'm Kathleen O'Tina. I've been on the committee for going on 6 years now, and this is my first year as the chair.
And Chuck Colby, I've been on for about 9 years now. I remember a lot of you folks, so welcome again.
I'm Mike Andrews. Been on for about 8 months. Just learning.
Yeah. Just say yes to the school budget. Just say yes, that's fine.
Open book. Open book.
Good evening, Jason Hunter, first year as well. Mike Flanagan, first year as well.
Antonica, first month.
Good time to start, right?
I didn't see them.
Yep, wonderful. Hi, nice to see you folks. And I'm Jeff Somonek, superintendent. I'm finishing my 7th year as superintendent, so the 7th round with the finance committee, all over the place, from the hot stuffy room down to the auditorium at one point during COVID. Do you guys want to introduce yourself?
Sure, I'm Beth Stafford, Chair of the School Committee. Don Byers, School Committee member.
Steve Boyce, member of the school committee, 11 years, spent 11 years here as well. They made me chair. Wasn't a good time.
So I'll keep the presentation relatively brief, and I'll state up front. Stephen Marshall's my business manager. When we scheduled this meeting, he was out on medical leave. He's at his daughter's 3rd grade basketball game tonight. I said, go do that. Family's important. And if you have any questions that I can't answer tonight, I'll bring them back to Stephen and get them, funnel them through, Sheriff. I'm just going to read what I actually read at the school committee meeting when I presented the budget, because I think it's important, especially for new folks here, to see what we actually do a little bit before we get into the nitty gritty of the numbers. So, good evening and welcome. I'm going to present the Whitman-Hanson Regional School budget. Tonight I'll outline a little bit what's needed for the school year 25-26. Today's budget is a level service budget. There are no increases to staffing in this budget. However, we are improving programs for students with the intent of filling positions from the staff that are currently on our payroll. So I'm going to do a little shuffling. This budget does add certain funds that I cut last year in fiscal 25 to maintain our current curriculum and capacity for one-to-one devices, and those are our Chromebooks. Over the years, during budget presentations, my office has sometimes been criticized for not asking the towns to financially support expanding programs for our students, while sometimes being criticized for asking way too much. We lack foreign languages at the middle school level, and we would like to expand our related arts program K-12 to provide students with certain courses or life skills. However, this year these requests are not in this budget. I've known for a while that FY26 was going to be difficult for both towns. I'm grateful to our school committee and the town of Whitman and Hanson for always finding a way to provide for our students. Whitman-Hanson provides a solid education for students pre-K to 22. We support all students using the MTSS model for data collection. That's the multi-tiered student support system. And with teachers and interventionists. So we actually have some coaches out there looking for, we call them interventionists, you could call them coaches, looking at data to specifically drill down instruction for kids that are struggling or kids that are mastering the curriculum to give them more. The district supports special education students through the needs, through inclusion classes. That's when a special education teacher and a regular education teacher are in the same class with students who are special ed and regular ed. Not severe special ed, but traditional students with some needs. Separate classrooms are those program classes for severe special needs, and when necessary, an out-of-district placement. And I'll talk a little bit about our out-of-district placements. We have provided certified teachers and tutors to assist our growing English language learners, or ELL students, to assimilating into traditional classes and moving away from the need for that support. Providing a strong, well-rounded education for our students is expensive, and this year is no different from years past. I'm confident that the budget that I'm presenting to you follows our strategic plan and allows our students the best opportunity to learn, grow, and develop into productive people in our society. So like that being said, the district budget is up more than it has been in the past. It's at a 5.36% increase. Usually, I would say we couldn't do anything more than 4.5 or even 5. However, things are expensive this year. My insurance costs are up. Special education costs are balanced but unpredictable. Salaries, contractual pieces are up, and I'm concerned moving forward what it's going to look like in with power supply and things like that, utility costs. Those aren't in this budget per se, but it might be something that we have to look at in the future. This is a level service budget. This is what I need to keep and maintain the exact programs that I have this year. Other costs that are included in there, like I said, I'm bringing back curriculum. We cut about $340,000 worth of our curriculum line. A lot of our curriculum is online. Prior to me becoming the superintendent in 2018, the district had no curriculum since 2001. So we've added curriculum. We've added full day K. It's one of the pieces in this budget book as you go through, outside the numbers, the additionals. We've added certain things for students to make sure that they are getting the education that they deserve and they need to be productive citizens in our society. And the goal for our district is K to 22, and for those that it's pre-K. So at age 3, if you qualify for special education in early intervention, you start in the district at 3. If you are a program student or a post-grad who needs special education services, you're entitled to those in the district until 22. And that's our post-grad program. And you might see some of my post-grad students working at different area places in town for their internship or their job-related experience. Those pieces don't add or don't cost a lot, but I think folks in town don't realize. They think, you're going to go to kindergarten, you're going to graduate in 12th grade. That doesn't necessarily happen for some students. We also have a growing EL population, primarily in Whitman. And we're lucky enough to have certified teachers teaching those students so they can then assimilate off of support or EL support into our classes, hopefully by the time they're a graduate of Whitman Hanson Regional High School. I know Ms. Okina had asked some questions from us, and we provided quite a few answers for this committee. The piece that I just kind of want to drill into a little bit outside the numbers again, and if you look at the addendum or additional information, kind of breaks down our special ed services, and I think again, and this, I'm going to highlight this because we get $240 grant from the Fed, which is about $1.4 million just for special ed, and I'm counting on that from the Fed. However, that comes from the DOE, and today there was 50% of their people cut, or looking to get cut. I don't anticipate that cut coming from the Fed, but it's just something for you to know that outside of the district budget, I get $1.4 million in grants from the Fed for special ed. I get about $340, sometimes a little more, in Title I. And Title I money from the Fed goes to our lower income students and where they need it. And I get about $400,000 miscellaneous grants that don't necessarily affect the day-to-day operations, but we have a 21st century program that is for after school for at-risk kids. I have the program that started in the high school. It provides busing at 4 o'clock for the kids to go home. We have a program in Whitman as well. It's academic and also, drama and culinary and all that. And we also have that in Hanson. That's all paid for by the Fed. So if some of these things go away, even the smallest, you're going to see kids after school or during the summer having less to do, or parents are going to have to pay for that programming. But the special ed piece again is. And the programs that we provide. In preschool, we have ASD, or our autism programs, in sub-separate classrooms. And we also have integrated classrooms. And our preschool is age 3 to 4.5, sometimes 5. Our elementary programs, we have a therapeutic learning center for emotional impairment at Conley and Duval. The Duval program is new this year. We actually took some of Conley and brought it over to Duval. The ASD, which is my severe autism at Duval and Conley. The PACES program is a developmental and intellectual disabilities program for elementary students that's at Indian Head. And a language-based learning center program is for students that just have language-based special education issues. They're not super separate all the time. They're more inclusion, but they need that sub-separate support. In middle school, we have a TLC as well at Whitman Middle School. Our ASD is at Whitman Middle School. Our PACES is at Hanson Middle, and then the language base is at Hanson Middle School as well. The high school programs, we have a PACES We have our ALC, which is really for special education students, but it's my at-risk program with a dual certified special education math, dual certified English, dual certified science, and dual certified history. So they're dual certified means they're special education certified and content certified in that program for small class sizes to drill down on the students that really struggle. And our post-grad program is 18 to 22-year-olds. These are not uncommon, but unknown to the general taxpayer. We employ 9 speech pathologists to assist in special education, 2 SLPs, which are speech language pathologist assistants, 3 occupational therapists, 1 CODA, which was a certified occupational therapist assistant, 4 board certified BCBAs to look at behavior. And we contract, if students need physical therapy, we contract service. So folks out in the general public again thinks reading, writing, arithmetic. No, we provide OT, sometimes PT, speech, like a hospital would for our students that need it through their individualized education plan. And that's all. Those are all staff positions, so those are all salaries. We have 19 students in local collaboratives. Our local collaboratives that we belong to are the Pilgrim Area Collaborative, which Mr. Boyce is on the board of directors, the South Shore Education Collaborative, the North River Collaborative, and the Reeds Collaborative, and I'm on the board as well. The reason I note that is if we were a non-member of that collaborative, the tuition rates would be about 15% more. So I was just at a board meeting at South Shore, and the differentials are about $8,000 per student in tuition for a board member versus a non-board member. It's an average of $82,000 per student for us to send them to the collaborative. It's skewed a little bit because we do have 1 residential placement in a collaborative at $426,000. So again, the general taxpayer, what do you mean $426,000 for a student? That's what it costs for a student with severe disabilities, special education in a residential. That student never comes home. That student is there. So the total for our collaboratives are 1.9 million, and like I said, I belong to those collaboratives. I also estimate about 18 in private and out of district placements. So the different learning preps and out there across the Commonwealth for an estimated total of 2.8 million. Or almost 2.9 and $160,000 per student. That's tuition only. That doesn't include transportation. So anybody that's not in a residential program is transported. And I believe the biggest tuition transportation bill I had was for a private in Acton, where the student was going to school at about $500 a day. And we are bound to transport that student. We made a deal with that parent to just pay the federal rate for them to drive that student, which cut the cost down in half. But the private transport company was going to be able to make close to $500 a day. Those are non-negotiables for us. So that's all included in the budget. And again, that 1.4 covers some of that, and not all, because it covers some of my special education teachers as well. Now, we do get some relief in terms of circuit breaker. So we were able to get some money from the state in terms of circuit breaker. However, there's a formula for circuit breaker, which you have to hit a certain dollar amount, and I'd say $45,000, and then the state will reimburse us for up to 75% or subject to appropriation in the governor's budget of that cost, which is a floating cost. So we are on the hook for the first 45, and we might get 75% of the existing costs, which we then turn into paying for these placements after the fact, or prepay the best we can at the best rates we can. So part of this budget that is fixed but an unknown, so we do the best job that we can budget. These costs can go exponentially, but it's a big part of the budget, so if you go through the line items, you can see that. The next page on the addendum is basically our EL students, and you'll notice we have 251 students that we provide services for. The bulk of the students do live in Whitman, and they're residents of Whitman. They live in town, and they have for some of them for 10 years. But this is an increase, a dramatic increase since 2018. I started as the principal of the high school in 2010, and there were 4 EL students in 2010, district-wide, 4. Now, like I said, we're up to 251. I mentioned some of the things we've done over the past 6 years. into year 7, it's tuition-free full day. The K to 5 elementary math and science programs, that's our curriculum. ELA and math curriculums in 6 to 8, and then a math curriculum 9 through 12. We've added co-teaching, which is that model for inclusion that works best for students when there's a special education teacher and a regular education teacher in the class co-teaching the material. Regular education students benefit from that because special education teachers have little strategies that help all kids. So it's a really good model to do to assist in learning. We have district-wide interventions, ELA and math, meaning we have people looking at data all the time. We have benchmark assessments, K to 10, so students are taking benchmark assessments so we can see where they're at every day and being able to adjust their learning and the content to their learning. Win block is what I need now, K to 12, which is about 35 minutes a day, K to 12, so students can get extra help. And it's not a homework time, it's extra help based on the data that's been collected. So again, if you're excelling in math, I know Mrs. Otina would be excelling in math. In her win block, she'd get material that's hitting her grade level expectation. She might be in 5th grade, but doing 8th grade work. The curriculum or the content or the assessment, the learning style in win block is going to help her at that level. Then she'll go back to class because some areas of that class, she might not be at the 8th grade level. She might be at the 5th grade level. In this budget, elementary class sizes are around 21 or below. We are, based on my research with my local superintendents, our class sizes are lower than a lot of areas. And I think that's something we've really worked hard at to keep because our kids are learning and lower class sizes are better for kids. When I came on board in 2018, class size in the elementaries was 26 and 27. Yep. So we've really tried to reduce that.
So lower class sizes and an extra teacher at some points in the classroom.
Yeah, for the special education person, correct. Elementary is not as much as co-teaching. It's really grade 6 through 12. Okay, so you have those two. A one-to-one Chromebooks, we started this during COVID. We had to add $100,000 instead of going to capital every 5 years for a lump sum of $1 million. We're going to try to keep that so we can replace $100,000 worth of Chromebooks every year. So that's in this budget. Translation services, so we can connect parents to folks at home in multiple languages. It's not a huge cost, but it's something that we've done. We've added SPED programs within districts to keep our kids here and at home in their home schools versus going out. It saves us money and it's better for our kids. Best Buddies and Unified Sports are for our special education students outside of the school day. Enrichment programs, I mentioned as far as the grants, the 21st Century Grant, and then pathways at the high school. We have a business pathway and we have a healthcare pathway for students who want to move into these areas and potentially walk out of here ready to get a certification in some sort of business areas and healthcare that they might not need a 4-year degree to, but they'll have a pathway to do that. And the goal is to have them in internships before they leave. So again, this budget is one of the biggest that I've presented, but it is level service without adding any programs. You have the numbers in front of you. I am going to recommend, and I'll tell the Finance Committee today, I'm going to recommend that the school committee sticks at the assessment that I presented to them at the February meeting. I know that we're going to have another joint meeting for the overrides because I know both towns are really seriously thinking of an override. So I'm going to recommend the school committee not move off of that assessment until we see what the numbers are. We will be voting on the assessment on the 19th. It's due to the town on the 20th. And as I will mention to the committee, that assessment can't go up really after we vote it, but it can always come down. And we've always looked at that assessment to see what the towns could afford up into and actually at town meeting. So it's not a set in stone, but I believe the assessment that I've provided in this budget is what we need. And I'm going to ask for that and advocate for that as we go. And if the towns both need, and I say towns because both towns are in the same spot, I'm going to advocate for that override to support the district for the next 5 years. My 5-year plan is attached at the end that we did in 2022. If you do notice on that, we predicted a 4.7 increase of the budget in 2022 for fiscal 26. We knew this was going to be a tough year. So I don't think the page is numbered, but it's right at the end. The former business manager was asked by the board of select, or the select board, maybe it was selectmen at the time, to do a 5-year plan. But if you look at projected, FY26, it was a 4.72 increase this year. And the numbers, I think last year, and that's not using any E&D. I will say I'm going to recommend to the committee not to use any E&D this year to offset any fiscal budget. But a 5.36 versus a 4.72 from 22, I think is well within the realm of a pretty decent outlook for the district. I do assume that the budget will drop a little bit next year. I'm going to look for a 3%, give or take. I do have projected 11 retirements next year. My bubble is going to burst with retirements in fiscal 27 and fiscal 28, and then we won't have many retirements after that. But I'm going to lose probably 22 to 24 people within the next 2 fiscal years, which will help the district budget depending on where we're at. But I knew this was going to be a real challenge. Also contractually, there's a retirement benefit that's through 2015 so any teacher that was hired prior to 2015 has a retirement benefit in the contract that I had to budget for. So usually this year I had 2.5 retirements, or really 2. Next year I have 10, and that retirement bonus that they get prior again to it's in the contract is substantial. So we had to make sure that we had enough money in this budget to cover the contractual obligations to the people that are actually retiring. Again, in 10, 15 years that won't be an issue. But we're dealing with that issue now of the contracts that were passed prior to 2015. So again, I think we did a decent job of doing the budget this year. I'm not going to go line by line. If you have questions, I can address those. But it's what we need. I'm not even asking for more at this point. I know that's not what some folks in town want. I think people want foreign language back at the middles. They want us to expand, but I do believe this wasn't the year to ask for it because I knew both towns were struggling. However, I did point out that in 2022, we were judging that FY26 was going to be a bear, and we're not too far off from what the projections were. The positive is that the middle school building project's under budget, so, I decided to take the good with the bad, right?
That's exciting.
Any questions that I can answer for you?
Well, I'm just going to interject one thing, and that's, it took me a while to master, and I haven't even mastered it, but get a handle on the school budget. And one of the key pieces of information that I learned early on is that this is a regional school. They pass the school committee, the regional school committee passes the budget. They certify the assessments. We cannot cut this budget. We can recommend that the budget be approved or disapproved, but we can't cut the budget. The only people who can cut the budget or change the budget are the elected officials, the Whitman-Hanson Regional School Committee members. So it's not up to us to say, well, could you cut 100,000 here or 50,000 there? That's not anything. We can suggest it or question it, but we're not in a position to say, let's just make a recommendation for a lower budget. That's what last year's town meeting was all about.
The challenge that comes and is when we give an assessment, folks, it's a 9.36, whatever it is. Right now it's a 9%. Folks in town think our budget went up 9%. It did not. It went up 5.36 at this point. The reason of the gap is that my budget goes up and my state funding, which the town has always relied on, is capped. So if you look at state funding, and I call it a little shell game, the projection for Chapter 70 and FY26, the state's going to give me $500,000 more. That doesn't touch $2 million increase, but give me $500,000 more, say. They gave that to me in Chapter 70, but then my charter school numbers, my reimbursements are down almost $200,000. So my net gain from the state is $300,000, which they gave me $200,000 the year before. That doesn't keep up with inflation anyway. So that's why the towns have to absorb that number, and it's not a 9%. And we had this conversation in Hanson last year. It's not a 9%. It's this number. The state, and Mr. Small used to say that, the state used to give us 75%. We're down to almost 40% of it's not a 50-50 anymore. It's not a 70-30, or it's not a 70-30. It's not a 60-40. It's the state's only given me 40%. And the towns are picking up the rest. And that's why the projections are as such, that this was going to be a tough year. Next year might be better. I can't necessarily count on the state. I count about $200,000 of more of growth from the Commonwealth. The other piece is transportation. We're lucky in a region, we can charge the state for busing. I cannot not provide busing for students over 2 miles. I have to provide busing for students who live over 2 miles. The state will reimburse us to that. Now, the law says it's 100% reimbursement for anything over that, subject to appropriation. And the governor's budget has never been 100%. This year, the governor's budget has 95% earmarked in there. That's been before. Then the Senate and the House will get that and bounce back and forth, back and forth. We budgeted a 75% reimbursement. We got caught a couple years ago looking at a 90% reimbursement, and in August when it didn't come in, I had to cut $250,000 in September. So we're always going to come up a little short on that because I don't know that. That's a bonus for the region because most towns don't have that. So I live in Pembroke. If my kids took the bus, it's $600 a year. And the Pembroke has to provide transportation to a certain age, but there's no reimbursable from the state. Part of the region piece is that transportation benefit, and usually Chapter 70 money is more for a region. The other piece that is different from any other department budget, and I'm not going to knock any departments, but we do our own facilities, we do our own operations, so we plow, we shovel, our custodians are all part of our budget, our insurances, our disabilities, our building insurances are all part of this, whereas the town can kind of delineate that, or police, fire, DPW don't have to pay those expenses. It all comes through the town. I know it's one piece of the pie, but that's why sometimes the district budget looks so much, because I have a business office, I have a HR, I have a payroll, I have these things that, the police, fire, DPW, they just send it to the town. Insurance comes through the town. We actually have to bargain that, and I think actually my rates for my teachers are, we provide the teachers less coverage or less benefit than the town budget is, or the town insurances are. We're a 60-40 split, and I believe it's a 65-35 on both sides. So those are the pieces that we have to maneuver to keep the budget in a good spot for both towns. So,
Okay.
questions?
Sean,
Just quick, can I open up that window?
are you getting a little overheated? Yes, yes.
I had another question for you.
Sure.
So I noticed in fiscal 28, you
Yep.
projected at 7.7,
Yes.
looks like retirement. Is that what it is? The debt retirement service go up?
No, so in fiscal 28, that's going to be the first year that the building project we're paying for. So it's part of the budget, but if you look at so if it's a 7.8 increase of the budget, if you look at the line 7.73.
Yes. Yeah.
So if you look at it at the top of that page, under Whitman capital assessments, your capital assessment is going to be 3.133.
Okay.
That's your first payment on the Whitman Middle School project. So your capital has always been around 326, 325, 395. That's the first year of the debt payment. So it affects the overall budget, so that's going to be a great conversation I have with the people in Hanson when I say the budget went up 7.5, and it's really, it doesn't, but it has to be, these are part of it's part of the budget, because the school district bonds the building, it's part of the budget. And again, I'm not going to apologize, the numbers are the numbers, but my office tries to be as fiscally responsible when presenting this, and last year we cut 5 staff members, and we cut about $500,000. That I need that $500,000 back, and curriculum to sustain, and that Chromebook piece of it. So that's where some of that increase comes in this budget as well as insurance costs and sped costs and just cost of living costs as we go. And I'm assuming I'm going to have a better budget cycle in 27 and 28. I just knew this was going to be the hump. We are in negotiations with our association. We are in a good spot. The budget numbers are going to be accurate in here. So I feel pretty confident that the earmark we put in for negotiations is going to be okay. So I'm not going to be hurting in 6 months in salaries, because the numbers I have are pretty accurate based upon the numbers that we have.
Okay.
Looking at the enrollment numbers, they seem to be going up. I'm just projecting, your elementary and how it will progress through the system. How is that? Am I reading it right? And also,
You are.
What will that do for us in the future? Is that maybe going to let you put some of those programs you would like to add?
I think it'll be a little while before we see that as a stabilization. But based on the numbers, it seemed like 18, 19, 20, even a little bit before that, the elementary numbers were at the 70% projected at 70s. I'm getting 80s now. So that should level off. The issues I have right now, I lose 60 kids, 60, 70 kids between Whitman and Hanson to vocational schools, to privates, and to some charters in ninth grade. Vocational, there's a push for vocational ed, South Shore Voc Tech, but we started to see Norfolk Aggie and Bristol Plymouth. Those come out of the town budgets, and I'm trying to work with Mary Beth and Lisa Green to help, coordinate some of their transportation costs with that. Their numbers are a little down this year, so you might see some excess revenue in those lines, but those are new. But I can't necessarily, and I could. South Shore Voc Tech, I don't approve. We're part of that group, so our kids can go there if they're accepted. Bristol Plymouth and Norfolk Aggie are two other vocational schools that they need superintendent approval. And as I said publicly at one point, I will never deny a student an opportunity to go to a school that they want to go to. If one, I don't think it's right. Ethically, I don't think it's right. Two, I'd probably lose in a real easy lawsuit right away. And I'm prohibiting a student from going to the school. So we just do that. I don't have any control over those costs. The cost for Norfolk Aggie next year is $29,000. That's tuition only. That's not transportation. My per pupil expenditure, I think, is around $17,500. So those costs are out of our control as well. But our enrollment projections, I think, will level off. I don't know if it's going to pull us out of hold harmless or not. But I'm optimistic that you're going to see some numbers that are okay. In that enrollment, you see that there's one class at Duval School, I think it's the second grade class, there's 53 kids. That was the anomaly. I'm like, I've never seen that before. But we did reduce a teacher at that point for that class size. There's a bubble class at Conley as well. But that should level off. I just don't know if it'll get us out of hold harmless. I know that there's a real discussion. I was on a call, and I talked to a few members today on March 24th. The Ways and Means Committee is meeting at UMass. They invited locals, anyone who's involved, who wants to be involved, they're going to look at the Chapter 70 funding formula. I don't know if it's going to change. They've been working on it for 15 years. I don't know, but it's Chapter 70. There's 244 districts in the Commonwealth that are in hold harmless, which means you get the minimum amount from the state in state aid every year. Some districts are not, and they can see a $1 million increase in their budget. Abington saw $1.5 million 2 years ago. So that's a bump that they state calculated. Here you go. Rockland did the same. However, Rockland got stuck because they got a huge bump, and then the state cut it the next year. So you hired all these teachers, and then you cut their aid. Right. So, it's the stability of kind of knowing it's a bad thing, but I kind of know what I'm going to get every year. It is okay, but if they change the formula in the next couple of years, the town should see some relief.
Thanks. As a follow-up, have you looked at why they're leaving to go to the other schools? Is there a program that they are looking for that the other schools are offering that we could offer? We're not going to put automotive maintenance back in high school, right? But there may be, everybody talks robotics. That's kind of
so. That's the piece of pathways right now. We're dipping our toes in the pathways piece of it, and I would love to get the robotics piece in. So we have a robotics class at the high school right now. We actually have 2 sections of it, and we have a club. Yeah. So those are the pieces of getting it. I'm finding the students, and even when I was principal, I'm finding students are starting to go to Voc Tech because one, you can get a vocational education and also take 3 or 4 advanced placement classes. Right. So that's what I'm losing, and I get along really good with the superintendent, Mr. Hickey over there. I'm like, hey, stop doing the APs, do your thing, stay in your lane, But that's a plus for them, and I do think sometimes that vocational schools aren't taking the kids that I want to go to vocational schools.
Exactly.
Because there's an application, they look at attendance, they look at discipline, and I have some students at the high school who would really, really benefit, but that didn't get in. But again, the numbers too, it's always been around 60, but with the class sizes being smaller the past couple of years, that 60 has a bigger impact in the high school. Yeah. When I started the high school, the building was built for 1350-ish. There were 1,200 students in the building. We're down to about 900. Yeah. Now we also offer, and I didn't highlight this, but we do offer an alternative program, an alternative diploma at the high school. It's called the Community Union School. About 35 kids in that. So if high school is not their thing after their sophomore year, we offer them an alternative diploma. It's different credits, and they can take as long as they want. So I just have a student over there that it's almost 22, and he's got one more class. I'm like, can you pass that one class already? You know, but it keeps our kids home and they're not dropouts. We do have some students that choose to leave. Before that, we always try to get them back, and that's the community evening school piece. The funding, it's not a big deal, but it's 2 teachers, it's 2 coordinators. It runs me about $70,000 a year to do the program, but it's hugely beneficial. And I would invite anybody, and I know my members, some of our members, we graduate our community evening school students the Thursday before graduation. It's probably the best ceremony I've ever seen because it's heartfelt, and those students have not had the easiest path. So, okay. Any other questions I can answer for you?
Yeah, the first year on the committee is the toughest. Yeah, so, I mean, there's so much jargon. Hold harmless really is. It's not an omission or a failure on any school department's part. It's just driven by enrollment. If you don't have enough students to warrant getting additional student aid from the Chapter 70 formula, you won't get less Chapter 70 funds from the state. That's why it's called hold harmless. But you're not going to get any more other than the minimum per pupil, which this year I think is $75 per pupil. It might
Yeah,
be.
well, it used to be 35. Yeah, so it's gone up, which is a good thing.
Yeah. But it's not $1 million.
No, it's not. So I'll be back for the joint meeting on the 25th.
On the 25th.
Yeah.
Chair, we had
Just a very random question. When did we start offering AP classes at the hotel?
Probably about 12 years ago. Yeah. Yeah.
What was the purpose for that?
I don't know. I don't know. But no, because as principal again, like, why are you going to go here? I got this and this and that. So I don't know what Norfolk Aggie does or Bristol, but I know South Shore absolutely has advanced placement classes. Correct.
I just had one question.
Sure.
So since we did full day kindergarten a couple of years ago now, 2 or 3 years ago?
Probably fiscal 22.
Yeah. Is there any way of telling, is that, I know it's a long road from kindergarten to 12, but you know, they're starting in the school system at that. So is there any reflection on that or any data that says, you know, maybe that'll help keep the kids in town, in school?
I think what you did see is students not going out of town for kindergarten.
Yeah.
So my choice number is going to Rockland or Abington or East Bridgewater or even South Shore Charter in kindergarten have gone down. The data itself on their progress is, I think, socially they're better off, and everybody's starting at the same plane right now. So if you couldn't afford kindergarten as full day, you were here, but if you could pay for kindergarten, you were here. So first grade, everybody's at the same level playing field. And again, that's post-COVID, so we're still kind of working through that. You are seeing the turn. The kids' behaviors are better. They're not pre-COVID, and their emotional needs are still kind of all over the place. Better, and every year it's better, even at the elementary grades, because now they're assimilated back into school. You're seeing some of the challenges in the 7th and 8th grade, because they missed some of those. That 4th, 5th grade years were a little bit bizarre, you know.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. And prior to full day K, parents who had the wherewithal paid over $3,000 for the privilege of sending their child for a full day kindergarten experience. Parents who couldn't afford it, their child went for a half day. Or some parents opted to send their kid, it's called school choice, send their child to, as Jeff said, Abington, Rockland, or East Bridgewater, where they offered full day kindergarten, and then we lost those kids. And their Chapter 70 money goes with them.
Right. Yep.
So having full day kindergarten had all
It's
sorts
an
of
investment in the kids
Correct.
and in the
Correct.
district.
It's financially, it's a good move, you know, and it's something, it's the right thing to do, you know. Next on the list will be full day, you know, or tuition free preschool. That'll be next, and that's coming, and there's going to be a need for that. I mean,
It's push from the governor's office for that. Well, thank you, Jeff.
thank you, folks.
All right,
Appreciate your
thanks for your
time.
hard work.
Yeah, we'll see you in a couple weeks.
Sorry, I didn't
Yeah, Beth has some things to
ask
sign.
anyone from the school committee if you wanted to ask questions or had something to offer. You took the time to come visit us.
Well,
Just state
I
support.
know 11 years on the finance committee goes by fast.
Thank you, folks, for having us. Appreciate
You're
it.
so integral and you're so important. And please, if you want, come to our meetings as well. I'm on the Unit A negotiations, obviously those are executive session, but I'm also on the Whitman Capital as the Whitman Hanson representative to that. And I do the chairing along with Beth as a member for the operations and capital meetings that we have. And we'll be meeting those next Wednesday, the 19th. 5:30 to 6:30, and then we start at 6:30 with our regular monthly meeting. So you're welcome anytime. And this is your future as well as those kids. And I volunteered in the schools for many years. Duval, back when we had Holt. I volunteered with one teacher, she was really super. We took the kids everywhere. It
All the
seemed like-
teachers are super, come on.
Oh, yeah, that's this one too. But really. And feel free to call or email us if you have anything additional.
I'm running again for reelection.
Oh, right.
School committee.
That's what we always do.
You'll see a bunch of those. It's that time of year.
I'm not running off on you.
No worries.
Okay. Ms. Byers is going to have a comment.
Oh, sorry.
On page 3, superintendent was talking about the additional information in the back. Page 3 has programs and staff added over the past 6 years. I just wanted to point out and reinforce that, the first 10 bullet points, and I stressed this at our last school committee meeting, these are all items that I feel we should have already had, right? We added these over the last 6 years. They're pointed out here. Federal funding from COVID certainly helped us to reduce our class sizes by adding more teachers, right? And providing full-day kindergarten, which was grant funded by the state of Massachusetts in 2000. No, what was it? 2001? Yeah, it was. We were 20 years behind on this as a district. And the curriculum, I can't say enough about what superintendent said tonight, that we're adding curriculum. Curriculum is the tools that a teacher needs. Now, to say that we didn't have it doesn't mean the teachers didn't know what they were teaching. There are Massachusetts standards, right? And this is what we hear in school committee. They're following the standards, and the students are getting the education and that they need. But the teachers didn't have the tools, and they were coming up with this themselves all these years, and we could always have done better. So this budget, well, it's 5% increase. It's not extravagant by any means. It simply provides the foundation. It's the foundation. It's not the extras. It's not the bells and whistles. It's the needs that they should have already had. And then the last few bullet points, it refers to special ed programs, right? Those are mandated. We want to keep kids in district, but we have to do that. And then the last two are grant funded. The enrichment programs at the middle schools and high schools, which is wonderful to take advantage of grants, right? But that's a program. Town's not. It's not even a matching grant. Town's not putting out anything extra. So I just sort of wanted to emphasize. Really, it would have been great if we had these to begin with. So.
It took us a long time to get there.
Yeah.
Especially the kindergarten one, because we hurt ourselves by not doing that because we weren't able to get any of the grants and the town had to pay the whole shebang. Thank you. Go ahead.
Ms. Byers is going to go into our Hall of Fame after.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
What color will the jacket be?
Geez, that's a good question. Green's popular, right?
I told you, Mr. Boyce, you're carrying on.
I'm carrying on. I'm not.
Either that or a nice and old fashioned or red and black school, that's-
No, that's true too.
That's right.
But we'll stay away from green.
yeah.
Thank you very
It's
much.
Abington, right?
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
It's Abington.
Wave, yeah.
Good to see you, folks.
Nice to see you.
Okay. So next, and I know this is an overwhelming budget. I just sat there the first year, and I had been on the Milton School Committee, which was a local school committee for 9 years, so I knew school budgets. I didn't know regional school budgets, and it took the jargon and attending school committee meetings and asking questions to have at least somewhat of a handle on the school budget. So I've tried to provide you with sort of my analysis. Here are things that I thought might be questioned, and I did receive responses back from Steve Marshall, the business manager, so which I have shared most, but not all of them with you. I'll get everything compiled and make it neat. So next item on our agenda is to vote to accept the Finance Committee's annual report for 2024. Thank you, Ann, for your comments. Mike, yours came late, but I'll integrate them into,
Just getting off the plane.
yeah.
Try to get it over to you.
And I got everybody's name right, so. Is there any discussion you want on the revised?
I'll make
entertain
a motion to approve the report as written.
Okay, do I have a second? Jason, thank you.
Do we have to abstain?
Can I make an amendment to that we allow
Oh,
the,
just on the.
I'd like to make an amendment that we also allow the chair to make what editorial changes she may need to make. I don't want to hold her up, say, hey, we have to write it just like this. I want to give her if she looks at it and wants to make it, add a comma, right, or whatever.
But you did send the final, didn't you?
I did, but then Mike sent me something at 5 o'clock.
Oh, okay.
Sorry,
And he's
guys.
been working in Florida for the week, so it's like, all right, it's sort of the final draft, and I will compare what's Mike's, don't even know what they were, but his suggestions to what we're voting, and I will use my best judgment so I can get it to the select board's executive secretary, was due at the end of January, but I'm not the last one. We're not the last one.
Yeah.
It's still out there.
So,
So Mike has made a suggestion that we amend it so that I can have editorial.
No significant changes?
No,
Said before.
yeah, no content changes, just superficial changes.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
Take a vote on that, and then we'll take a vote on, could I,
Someone needs to make a motion to.
to amend.
so,
Yeah, motion to amend, we need a second on that.
I'll second it.
okay. Oh, I'll let Ian second it.
Okay, yeah.
There you go.
Right,
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor of the motion to
Aye.
amend?
motion.
It's unanimous. Now we're moving on the amended motion, which is giving me editorial control, but only superficial, nothing content.
Make a motion to accept the amendments.
Thank you, Mike Andrews.
Second?
Thank you, Mike Warner. Any discussion? All in favor? It's unanimous. I will send that off tomorrow. We're on to subcommittee reports. So, Capital Committee did meet. We met last Thursday, March 6th. We have compiled all of the capital requests. George Farrow did come and represent the school department. Stephen Boyce is the voting member on the Capital Committee. He was also there. It was extremely helpful having George there to explain the capital requests that were submitted by the schools. We are going to meet again on March 20th, which is next Thursday, to vote the capital articles. So they've been compiled. Now what we'll have to do is, there's been more money requested than there is available. We will be funding the capital items out of free cash. There's $2.2 million roughly in free cash. The select board wants to put 10%, 10 to 15% in capital stabilization, 10 to 15% of the balance in general stabilization, and then there were 2 or 3 other specific transfers that they wanted to make. So their requests and the available funds are off by a couple $100,000. So the Capital Committee will prioritize the requests made by the different departments. And that will be on the 20th. And then Dawn Essen, who's the chair of the Capital Committee, will come to see us on April 8th, which is after we vote on the warrant, but he's not available prior to that. So I will tell you after next week's meeting what the Capital Committee is going to recommend, so we have some sense of what capital items will be available. And I'll give you more information. Mary Beth is going to compile that. So that's the Capital Committee. Whitman Regional Agreement Committee, we're still chipping away at that transportation language without much success, but I'm not giving up. We meet again on March 26th. And the Whitman Middle School Building Committee, as I said last week, Chuck, you made an excellent point. We are all fiscal conservatives now. The $15 million under budget, we're not looking to how can we spend this money. It's let's make it a good message to the town, the taxpayers, that the bids came in significantly lower than we anticipated, and the contract has been signed. So the Middle School Building Committee meets again on March 25th. So I'll have more to report then. And now it's over to you, Mike Andrews, who is willing to do the Public Works Department subcommittee report.
Rick Anderson sent this over to Kathleen, which I'm now being forwarded, the Whitman DPW Building Committee. Their monthly report, March 11, 2025. So, Patrick, excuse me for my, but do you normally just read all of his findings, or what would you?
I can share it with
What would
the
you
full
like the
committee.
meat and potatoes to
What
be?
was the most important thing in that
That-
report? Or the three most important things in that report?
Okay. What we had talked about at this meeting prior was the winter protection. Let me, sorry, I'm trying to read this off my little phone here. I hit,
What's that? Okay.
you're gonna copy, just coffee.
Okay, copy.
Yeah, they're all just.
I don't need a copy. I can
Yeah,
write
it
it
was
on.
the same.
You got anybody need a paper copy?
I was just. Oh yeah, that's great. We have these. I should say.
Just a couple days.
Pass them.
And that just came to me, I believe, this morning.
Yeah, I was gonna say I
At 5
looked
a.m.
at, I opened this, emailed it to my phone, and then showed up here. So,
Yeah.
kind of going over this for the first time as well. So.
We can postpone this till next week since we're meeting and there's not going to be another DPW.
Yeah, would you mind?
No.
Just because I got this at the end.
Nope, no
I'm reading it
That'll
for the
give you
first time.
time.
I haven't had any
Yeah.
mental notes on
Okay.
this at all myself. I don't really know what stands out to me yet.
All right, I'll put it on the agenda for next Tuesday, under old business, under subcommittee reports.
Yeah, it's always hard when you get stuff the day of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes an
And-
hour
She got it
before.
this morning, and,
Yeah, oh,
and
yeah.
I don't see it till
If you're
this afternoon when I open up.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
when I
oh,
open
yeah.
it up. So.
Totally
Okay.
understand.
All right, so now we're on to, we're almost through, coming close to not being too late tonight. I am in constant communication with Mary Beth Carter. She and Sean and I are going to work as a budget working group to try to come up with a strategy for attacking the budget. If there, how do you attack a $2.2 million override? That's not our goal. Our goal is to look at the budget and say, where would we cut? So that we can start with an information campaign telling the public, as I did in the annual report, this is what's at stake here. Whether the school committee cooperates and cuts like they did last year, even though Jeff doesn't want to, and we can't. But it's a tough year. The good news is everybody is at risk in this override. It's not a single budget override, which I think is a quantum leap ahead from where we were a year ago. So I haven't met, Sean and I haven't had the same free time. Mary Beth has no free time, but she'll make herself available. But I will tell you about those meetings as they take place. And so it's the upcoming meetings. What I'm really looking for is your consent to start at 6 o'clock. Because we've got, the police chief does want to come and present his budget now, and I have no place else to put him. So I said, all right, if I have him come at 6:15 in front of the Conservation, Planning Board, and Historic Commission, that will take care of all of the budget managers that we have to deal with. And then the 25th is a 6 o'clock meeting with the Select Board. And on April 1st, we begin reviewing Article 2. I'd rather start at 6 than go to 2 nights a week, which we've done in the past. We do Tuesday, Thursday, and it gets tiring. So we're good with 6 o'clock? Okay, so I will amend the agenda.
Can we do that without Al here?
Al knows.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as long as we have a quorum, it's not to cut Al out of the
Correct.
process, but, all right, then I will amend the agendas.
Yeah, well, 4, 6, and then.
All right, then I think I've covered everything. Is there anything else that anyone has to bring to the table?
I just have a quick question. I know the police chief was a little reluctant early on to present his budget for certain reasons. Did something change that he wants to sit down in front of us now?
I believe he's going to present a budget that anticipates a Proposition 2.5 override, and that he is going to present the budget that he needs, not the budget that he was asked to prepare consistent with the guidelines of 2.5% and level funding. So in an email way early, back in November, I'm not sure if it came to the full committee, but it was, I have 3 budgets. The one that I've been asked to prepare, which I can't work on, the one that I really need, and I don't know what the third one was. So it's,
Okay.
that's the best explanation I can give you, Chuck.
Okay, good, thanks.
Okay. Anybody else? Well, then I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, Mike Andrews has made the motion.
Second.
And Ann has made the second. All in favor, because it's not just debatable. Okay, keep your hand up.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you. This was another very good meeting.
All right.